This is the story of a grad student named Stanley. Stanley attended a university in a big department where he was student number 427. Student 427's objective was simple. He sat at his assigned office in room 427 and he learned. Assignments came to him through interdepartmental email, telling him what to read, what to write, and in what order. This is what student 427 did every day of every semester of every academic year, and while others eventually graduated and moved into the real world, Stanley pursued further degrees, relishing every moment that the assignments came in, as though he had been made exactly for this role. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Stepping out of his office for the first time in what seemed like ages, Stanley looked around and realized there was nobody left in his department. Papers were scattered, desks with computers still running abandoned. Devoid of all life, the spaces spoke to Stanley. They commanded him to follow their logic of work, boxing him in. He realized he had no idea how to leave this place. The corridors oppressively led him from office space to meeting room, to a break room which seemed somehow to thwart any attempt at relaxed contemplation. No exits. Stanley panicked. What was this institution he found himself trapped in? How had it come to be? Was this impossibly rigid, brutal structure truly made by people with a desire to invent new ways of thinking? Stanley himself couldn't seem to think straight. No choice he made, no door he entered, led him anywhere but deeper into the institution, deeper into the dark underbelly of academia, its walls plastered with edicts and manifestos and treatises. He discovered what appeared to be a buried exhibit, a metaphysical review of the institution itself. Yet it was impossibly and paradoxically embedded in the institution. It analyzed itself from within, creating yet a further structure in which walls were built with corridors terminating in dead ends, specializations, a search for an undefinable truth. In the eldritch darkness of the literate apparatus, Stanley contemplated the oblivion into which he'd willingly stepped. He saw nothing but the twisted architecture of classrooms, or were they offices, or museums? Nothing made sense anymore. What was he even researching? Did it matter? Would anyone ever know about it? Read about it? Does anybody read anymore? Was it all just to achieve employment? A professorship? Ultimately tenure? Perhaps heading a department of his own? Somewhere, a voice in the back of Stanley's mind said, "Make the world a better place." He didn't know where it came from. It certainly wasn't one of his normal assignments. "Make the world a better place," it echoed, and seemed to guide Stanley down an unseen path. He arrived in a well-lit space. Seeing letters scratched in red lettering, reading "Escape," Stanley ignored them, realizing now that there was no escape. Or at least, not until he could reconcile the apparatus of academia, literacy, with that of the new technology emerging. Computers, networked, capable of processing information and completing tasks at rates those in the past would have found unfathomable. All of this at Stanley's fingertips. And until now, he hadn't realized its potential. Not just for reproducing, but for recreating, remixing. Stanley embraced the spirit of the bricoleur and took the task of learning into his own hands. And what became of Stanley? He's still in his office, still a part of the institution. But perhaps he has changed in some fundamental way now. Perhaps he will find the escape he is looking for.